Welcome to the Eye of Power podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dardick. But this podcast is not about me. It's about you and your power. It's time to claim yours. Today on the Eye of Power podcast, it's my great pleasure to welcome Andrew Lawler to the program. Andrew and I met on a panel discussion. He and I were two. We were joined by two others, and hopefully we'll have them on the show too. We had such a great conversation then. And I knew that we would have a good conversation today because Andrew, literally everything he said was what I would consider dialed into what we talk about, the Eye of Power. And, with the Mentor Machine program, we're very aligned in terms of what we think matters and what makes differences for people. So I wrote 3 pages of notes while Andrew was sharing his story and the story at Berry Associates. He's the president and COO there, and he's been there 15 months, so it's still new for him, but he's got his focus on the right things. I think you'll be as pleased as I am, the amount of knowledge and the amount of focus that he brings to the table on the human equation. Yes, there's business. Of course, there's nuts and bolts of doing business, but he strikes me as a leader who is really focused on the people side. And boy, I tell you, I think that's the kind of leader that we all need. And so help me welcome Andrew Lawler to the show. So Andrew, you and I met under, I thought, pretty fun circumstances. We had a really successful panel discussion together. And the panel, I saw you were like eating up the other people's stuff and saying, I'm going to use that. It was we really listened to each other and everybody sort of weighed in from their perspective. And it turned out to be a conversation that almost everybody in the room didn't want to end.
I agree. And you and I didn't even know each other before. And I didn't know anybody on the panel before any of that too. But I thought we were able to play off of each other really well. And you're right. I was eating up what everybody else was saying. I was wishing I was sitting in the audience with my notepad in hand and taking a couple of notes here or there, or hoping that somebody had a video recorder going for it. But nobody did.
I was really hoping that it'd be videotaped, and I don't think it was. So all that goodness just, in the memories of the people in the room, and that's where it is.
I know. But yeah, you're right. It was, there was a lot of energy that I think came out of that room. And anytime I get involved in conversations, I'm sure the same way. Anytime I get in conversations that's specifically about leadership, and it just brings so many thoughts into my head, like just this constant stream of, and this and that and this and that. And I learned this once upon a time, and this lesson probably applies there. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun to be a part of that.
Well, we'll continue the party now. So, what we're focused on at the Eye of Power, the ways that we all of us humans, both increase our personal power, our agency, or squander it. And so you as a leader, as an accomplished person, have obviously been able to marshal at least some percentage of your agency to make things happen. So I think you probably have some things to share with us.
That's debatable.
And well, as you're now COO and president of Berry Isett and Associates, which is a pretty diversified consulting and engineering oriented firm, right? Maybe we just start there as to what the organization does and what success looks like over the short and long term for you as a collective mission.
And perhaps we can get into a little bit of the background about how I got here, because I think that's
I do want to go there. I do want to go there, but I want to orient it at first as to like the present moment, and then because I know you were in the military and I know you've got a lot of stories.
Sure. So Berry Isett Associates, 48 years old. We're a multidiscipline engineering and consulting firm, 12 offices across the eastern half of the state of Pennsylvania. And we provide, my quick elevator pitch to folks who don't know anything about us is everything for the built environment that you can think of possibly needing from an engineer or a consultant, but not architecture. that's what we do. So we organize ourselves in a matrix. We have 3 divisions across 4 different regions that we segment our business in. Those 3 divisions are further broken down into 11 different revenue generating departments, 11 different specialties in the engineering or the consulting spaces. Plus we have 2 non-revenue generating departments, so 13 total departments. And the non-revenue generating departments, they kind of sit like an umbrella over top of everything else that we do. And that's project management or construction services. So we use that a lot for multi-discipline. When a client needs a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, we'll wrap it all up underneath a project manager. So we have a PMCS team, as we call them. And we have a grant writing team as well that can be applied to any segment for any of our customer base. And we have a 3-person grants team that specializes on finding some money and then helping customers apply that to accomplish their projects. Just to give you a little bit more detail about kind of like what are some of those departments that we do. So those 3 divisions that I mentioned a moment ago, we have traditional engineering as people think of engineers most of the time, I feel like. And we call that our design division. So that's included in the design division are civil land development, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. So MEP engineering and structural engineering. So those 3 departments make up our design division. We have this middle space, we call it our field division. These folks look more like contractors most days of the week. So they're wearing high-vis shirts, hard hats, boots. They're playing out in the dirt in a lot of places. So this is our survey team, geotechnical engineering, so figuring out what's underneath the earth that people are going to build some form of a structure on. We have environmental consulting services that we provide with forensics engineering when things go wrong out there in the built environment. And we have a group that we call construction quality assurance. So these are folks who go out and they test any sorts of construction materials, whether that be concrete or soils or steel. They can do indoor air quality types of things as well. Testing, adjusting, balancing, commissioning, those types of things. So all of that is wrapped up in our field division. And then we have a public division, which specializes in code services. That's our biggest department. So these are folks who every day of the week are reviewing plans for safety and municipal requirements, code required items that are out there. And they're doing the inspections on commercial, residential, industrial properties all across the state. We have a municipal engineering group, which services municipalities across pretty much the eastern half of the state. And then we have a landscape architecture team as well. So we have a vast array of services, multidiscipline services that we can help various clients with, but we're not architects.
Okay, everything but architecture. So and it's also, if I understand correctly, it's an ESOP company, correct?
We are an ESOP. So back in 1998, so Barry Isett, our founder, started the firm with 3 disciplines in 1977. So we started with civil land development, survey, and structural engineering. So those 3 disciplines have now grown into what I just described previously. But in 1998, Barry, as part of his own sort of transition plan, he wanted to make sure that the company fundamentally lasts forever. So that's ultimately what we're aiming for right now. Us as a leadership team, as an entire organization, we are built for the long haul, and we are built for what we describe as the marathon pace, the slow, steady, disciplined march when it comes to growth. We don't want to necessarily grow too fast. We don't want to outstrip our resources. We want to fundamentally build a company that lasts forever. And that started back in 1998 when Barry decided to start transitioning a lot of the company over to the employees themselves. So we went from 30% ESOP when he first founded the ESOP. Now we're a 42% ESOP. So we're 42% ESOP. 58% of our company is owned by other shareholders, but they're all employees of the company as well. So it's an interesting mix that we have there. So we have about 90 shareholders outside of the ESOP that are independent shareholders. They're all employees of Barry Isett and Associates. And the largest shareholder that we have owns 10% of the company. So we have 2 shareholders that each own 10%. Barry himself still owns 5% of the company. And then a whole lot of people own smaller percentages of it. And then 42% of the company is owned by the roughly 300 employees that we have here as part of our ESOP program. So it's an interesting arrangement that we have.
So it's very interesting and I'd say not the usual mix of things. So my first question that comes to mind, Andrew, is how does that ownership structure impact things from your position as COO and president? How would it be different if it wasn't structured that way? And, you could do a cost benefit or however you want to tackle that. What do you see? What's your view as that unique position that you're in?
So lots of different thoughts there. So I think I'll start with how would it be different if we were not an ESOP? I think one of the challenges that all companies have always faced, and in particular engineering and consulting service companies today face, is attracting and retaining talent. Like that's like the number one issue. And when we talk at the executive level here, and then when we talk to our department heads and our operations managers, we're always talking about people first, people, right? So I have this mantra in my head about people, systems, and processes, but everything that we're doing is really driven by the people that we have. So if we were not an ESOP, we see the industry that we're in kind of heading in two directions. We see a lot of private companies either being bought up by private equity or going down the path of becoming an ESOP as an exit strategy for the current ownership that's there. If we were not an ESOP, I think we lose a lot of that motivation on the part of our employee base. What we have here, and it's hard to describe to people unless you have the ability to come visit with us, talk to our team, walk the hallways, feel like everybody talks about culture. Like we have a really special culture. I've only been here, Tom, for 15 months right now too.
Oh, okay.
And so I can say without a doubt that there's just really something special about us. And I pin a lot of that on the fact that we're employee owned. That we reinforce that message. We put our money where our mouth is. When it comes to bonuses or growing the ESOP, putting benefit packages together that are really employee first. And so being in that environment, being in the position that I'm in as Chief Operating Officer and President now, I think we spend a lot of time, myself and Kevin Campbell, our CEO, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what does 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now look like. Yeah. And almost everything we're talking about is centered around the ESOP itself, right? And trying to make that even more meaningful and more impactful and trying to outwardly demonstrate. A lot of times when you get into these types of retirement savings vehicles, it's gray, it's nebulous at best for the employee who's coming to work. They're putting in their time, they're getting their paycheck, they're producing some deliverables. They're getting hopefully they get a bonus at the end of the year. Hopefully they get a raise systematically. They get some promotions along the way, but like, oh yeah, and there's this retirement thing like sitting in the background and I don't really know what that's worth. We're trying to make it real. So we host series of webinar discussions and meetings, town hall style meetings for all of our team. It's hard to do across 12 offices, but we're using technology and those types of things. But it's all centered around the value of the ESOP and why this matters so much.
Turning me into we, right? I mean, that's essentially the mindset.
Well, there's no doubt about it. We are all in this together. Yeah. We are all in this together, and those are some of those lessons hopefully most people have learned from an early stage. Is you're only as good as your weakest link type of a mentality, right?
The founder of applied formal axiology is a guy by the name of Robert Hartman. I don't know if that rings a bell. The Hartman Value Index, ACI.
No. The space you're in, I need to do more research on, Tom. I need to dig
We can
in.
talk some more, no doubt about that. But he believed, he was working in the 1950s, 1960s to develop his psychometric tools, but he died fairly young in 1973, and the Hartman Institute continues to this day. But he believed that the ESOP or employee owning was the evolution of the corporate structure. That was the highest form And axiology is the science of value. So he's saying empirically it's the highest form. So I think that's kind of an interesting perspective, and he puts the empirical case for these kinds of claims. So it's we can get into the weeds on that for sure. I know we can on that. But I want to turn it back to the more personal story on you, because you're 15 months into this, which means, you're still probably observing dynamics and seeing the deeper structures of things and asking probably more questions than what you feel like you might have answers to, right? So let's talk about your journey that got you to this place, and then from there, where you are now, then what makes you sort of excited about the days to come. So kind of get into your arc through that, Andrew, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can.
We got some time if you do. So.
I tell people that like my own personal journey on the professional side, let's say post-graduation from college, has been one of shrinking geography until now. Now I'm on my way back up again, being here at Barry Isett Associates. So graduated from the Naval Academy degree in systems engineering, and then I got a chance to live out a little boyhood dream of mine. And I went out and I flew airplanes in the Marine Corps for close to 8 years after graduation. So that was I want
to pause right there, because that's not just you throw it out there like it's this matter of fact sort of thing. It is very difficult to get into the Naval Academy, and very difficult to fly planes in that way. These are very high bars. So those are extremely high accomplishments. You're sort of patching through like it's a grace note, but if that was your career, that would be quite a high achievement, just that. So
I think I was reflecting upon what we might be talking about today. And every now and again, I just kind of catch myself reflecting upon these things anyway, and about using your agency, and like, how do you take life's experiences, for lack of a better term, and like make something out of them, or like give up because of them, in the various stages type of a thing. Like, to me, Tom, and I mean this sincerely, like I appreciate you saying that about like the high bar, about the Naval Academy and the Marine Corps. Like, it's, to me, it's never been about me, right? It's just never been about me, but it's always been about doing the best possible job that I could do to help other people along the way, with the talents and the gifts and the blessings that I've been bestowed by God and formed by others. Right? Like that's truly the way I've tried to live my life. Like it's not about me, but if I've been blessed with any talents, I better be damn sure that I use them for the best possible outcomes, right? And so, to me, I grew up in let's call it the Top Gun generation, and oh man, that would be awesome to be able to fly airplanes in the military. And one of my basketball coaches, as a little kid, was like, you've got a lot of discipline, and I put that on my family and the environment that I was raised in. And you've got a lot of discipline. You should check out one of the service academies, and right, I'll check it out. And my father was Army ROTC. He served for a 3-year tour, tail end of Vietnam type of a thing. And my grandfather was in the Navy. I never really knew any stories about that growing up. So I didn't have a lot of military influence in my life, but one of my coaches kind of pointed me in that direction, and I checked it out, and I thought, you know what, that looks pretty cool, looks pretty fun. And it just it worked. It fit who I was. It fit what I wanted to do, or at least thought I wanted to do. My mind is in maths and sciences. And at the time, the service academies were heavy on the engineering side of things. They've gotten more like liberal arts and languages and foreign relations types of things since then. They still have obviously a lot to do with engineering too. But at the time, it all kind of felt right. And then I went through the Naval Academy through my 4 years there. It was very formative. Learned a lot about myself in the good times and the bad times, and in the successes and the failures. But what I learned more than anything else is that I just fell in love with the Marine Corps. Like the Marines that I had a chance to interact with, they stood for something a little bit more. They kind of wore the uniform a little bit different. They, and if I'm gonna go do it, man, I want to be a part of the best, right? Like if I'm gonna do it, let me do the best that I possibly can. I want to be part of the best. So that's kind of what angled me towards the Marine Corps. And then I was very fortunate. I count my blessings that I was able to find the best of both of those worlds. I was able to find my way into the Marine Corps with a pilot slot coming out of the Naval Academy, and I didn't look back. I'm going to go. Let's go attack this thing. And I tell my kids that now. I tell our associates that as well when I'm talking to them. Like, something happens, you learn your lessons, you pick yourself up, and there's only one way to move, and that's forward, right? Like if something good happens, move forward. If something bad happens, you got to move forward as well. Like I don't believe in moving backwards.
So were you flying Harriers or something else?
No. I flew KC-130s. That's another part of like knowing yourself and understanding what's fulfilling to you as a person. Again, from a young age, I love the concept of teams. I played a lot of sports growing up. I love the idea of contributing to a team and being a part of something bigger than yourself, type of mantra. It was reinforced at the Naval Academy for sure. It was reinforced through my Marine Corps days for sure. But like when you talk about being a pilot and being on a team, like my first choice coming out of flight school was the KC-130 platform, which is a 4-engine cargo transport. The Marines use them a lot for aero refueling. They're land-based. Like I just didn't really want to be on a boat at that stage. So I wanted to be something land-based, and I wanted to be on a team or a crew-served weapon. And that C-130 community appealed to me. It was kind of a very, very small community, the smallest of the aviation communities within the Marine Corps. But again, it was difficult to get into. I wanted to go try to get into there. And I was fortunate that the way the numbers worked at the time I was graduating, there was a spot available, and I had a good spot in the ranking, and I was able to kind of get what I wanted out of that, right? Because of the work that I had previously put in. But yeah, I don't.
Being in transport, that's you talk about a team and the support and having to perform well. And if something goes wrong, it really trickles down to a lot of effects that could be really bad.
Tom, I mean, I look back on it now in the moment. I mean, I'm a mid-20s something, like full of energy and vigor, and I could conquer. I'm invincible. I'm this badass Marine, and it's like somebody's telling me to take this $60 million airplane with 5 other people halfway around the world and go do good things. Like, good luck. It's like, man, that's really, really cool. So now I tell my kids I used to be cool, right? I used to.
There we go. Awesome. All right. So you got out of the military, and let's kind of get the arc moving.
So that was, I was talking about like this career shrinking geography. So in the Marine Corps, nearly a decade, I operated globally. Coming out of the Marine Corps, I transitioned. I was working with a recruiting firm to place junior military officers transitioning out of the military into the corporate or civilian world. I found a job with Lutron Electronics Company, which is not far from here in Coopersburg. They're headquartered in Coopersburg. It was a global company. And at Lutron, I was with them for about 7 years. I had probably 10 different roles within Lutron. A lot of time I was on an airplane every other week, traveling the country, doing national sales types of things. And it's this phenomenal company, like the entrepreneurial spirit that's alive, the level of intelligence of the people that are there. It was a great place for me to go transition out of the Marine Corps from my first civilian job type of thing. I learned a ton. But one of the things I did with Lutron is I ran their programs for the National Electrical Contractors Association. And that I had built up a large network of electrical contracting firms that I was very close with and friendly with. And Lutron, if nothing else, they breed kind of this entrepreneurial spirit in people as well. And so the bug got inside of me, and I wanted to go kind of chase it a little bit and figure out if I could do something on my own. But I hooked my wagons to a large electrical, mechanical, and civil construction firm out of Ohio that was focused on the natural gas world. And and we opened a separate office in the Marcellus Shale in Northeast Pennsylvania, servicing large industrial oil and gas type clients. Did that for a couple of years. That was more regional based work. And then a series of things happened with the parent company, and one of the local contacts that I knew here was looking for a succession plan for taking over and running his smaller electrical contracting firm. So made the change there, ran that business for a number of years, and it was great to be like hyper local at that stage. So I went global, national, regional, and then I was hyper local, focused almost exclusively on the Lehigh Valley, like a 50-mile radius from downtown Allentown was our playground where we did all of our work. And man, I loved everything about being able to get to know the community, get to build the community that I was living in, get to drive my kids around and say, yeah, we built that and we built that and we're doing this one. And oh, there's a big job that's going to go on over there. And there was a lot of fun. Again, a lot of learning there too. That was a family-based environment. I'm gonna save the painful story. I alluded to it when we were on stage together, but from the side, if you will, like I got blindsided by some stuff that was going on the family side that I just wasn't even aware of, and things changed very rapidly. And that was a point of more learning and more growing for me. But at the time that was happening, Tom, 3 different angels came into my life and were introducing me that I didn't even know was happening. But they were introducing me to Kevin, at the time he was our president and CEO. And we got to talking, and one thing led to another. And then I found myself here a few months after that. And there's no doubt in my mind, Tom, that this was more of a calling than anything else. Like this is absolutely where I'm meant to be. And so I believe in the power of God Almighty. I believe in the Lord and putting us on the path. And my wife and I have a sign hanging on our bathroom wall that we see first thing every morning. It says, your journey's unfolding exactly as it should be. Right? And that just reemphasizes this point of like, have a little bit of trust, have a little bit of faith. You might not understand it right now, but move forward. Like this is the path you're meant to be on.
That's one of the dynamics of life that, maturity means being able to struggle with it elegantly, where, you want to push, you want to exert your willpower and your force and try to make things different best you can. And then you also want to make sure that you don't put energy where in the places where you really don't have control over, and right. Kind of find that line between acceptance and the drive to make impact, and be able to pedal both of those, both those elements. And
right. It's that old serenity prayer, right? It's the old serenity prayer. Like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? Like,
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it right there.
Yeah. So, that's my career shrunk, and then I've landed here. I'm number one, it was another great opportunity to learn. So I came out of a world where I was exclusively focused on electrical construction for me. And now we at Isett, we have so many disciplines that we can provide. We have so many things, and a lot of them I knew about them, but now I'm getting to like dive deep into the knowledge base on some of those things, and it's just incredibly rewarding for me from a personal standpoint. It's incredibly rewarding for me to be able to learn those types of things, to be able to expand my knowledge, hopefully help some people along the way, institute some processes and procedures from the chief operating officer piece of my role here, make some improvements to efficiency to enable the company to thrive and to set the foundation really for what we want to do in the future. And that's like, we're going to continue this slow, steady, disciplined growth march. But for years and years and years, we talked about, like, we're big fans of Jim Collins here. I was a fan before coming here, and then I found out that they've done a lot of book studies with the team that's been here for 20, 30 years as well with Jim Collins. And, you look at some of the things that Collins talks about, and one of those concepts is this BHAG that folks often talk about, this big, hairy, audacious goal. And for years and years and years, our BHAG was we called it a 10-12 march. We want to grow by 10% and drive 12% profit year after year after year. That's it, like slow, disciplined, steady growth, 10-12 march. We just recently changed our BHAG now, and we want to be best in class in every service we provide and in every region we provide it. So that's now our rallying call, if you will. That's our what does the future state look like? And what I love so much about this is that while there's no doubt in my mind that we are already best in class in certain services in certain regions, fundamentally, I believe that we will never ever achieve this BHAG because we will always continue to grow, right? So the moment we feel like we're best in class in every service in every region, we got to go someplace else. We got to go find a new region, and then we got to become best in class in that region as well. So like it's fundamentally unachievable. Dare we say like unachievable? But I think the team has responded to it as well, and it provides us so we want to double the company every 7 years, which is what you can do if you grow 10% a year. And so by being focused on doing that, we know necessarily that we have to apply some processes and some procedures and some control points and some mechanisms. So the team understands that now as well. There's not a lot of pushback. Why are we doing that now? Why are we doing this? So we continue to grow almost exponentially even in terms of people that we have, as well as on the revenue side and the profits there as well. And so it's been very rewarding in this short period of time, but we have so many bright days in front of us as well.
So you've just provided an answer to one of the questions I had in mind for you, which is with all that disparity of both physical location spread across a region, and then disciplinary variety with different people having different areas of expertise and focus. Generally speaking, those conditions make it difficult to get everybody singing in the same hymnal and the same key. So one answer you just gave was the rallying cry, the singular mission, the idea of, look, we're all a piece of this together. And we talked about the ESOP earlier, the BHAG that you've got now being components of that central rallying cry. What are some of the other systems and processes and things that you use? You mentioned the Jim Collins approach, and he started with or I don't know if he maybe did something before, but I know him as the good to great guy. What are some of the other nuts and bolts things that you think helps you knit this quilt into a seamless, usable blanket?
I mean, one of the other concepts that Collins talks about is the concept of a flywheel, and so we've broken down, and this predates my involvement here, but I love it. The Isett flywheel, what really drives us from a machine standpoint, it starts first and foremost with what we say an aligned and committed leadership team. So if we do not have alignment and commitment, we're all in from a leadership standpoint. Nothing else will be able to flow out of that. So what does flow out of that though is a healthy work environment. So if we have an aligned and committed leadership team that can create a healthy work environment, then we can attract and retain the right talent, and then we can get the right clients that are aligned for fair and consistent profit, and then we can reinvest back in our communities and our workplace and in our people, and then we can maintain an aligned and committed leadership team, and the cycle just keeps going with more and more and more velocity as that flywheel starts cranking, right? And so when you ask, like, what are some of the other things we're doing to kind of get everybody rowing in the same direction, it starts with leadership, right? And we've been fortunate to be beneficiaries of some consultants along the way, and one of the mantras that stuck with us is no team can outgrow its leadership.
Right.
You just can't. So what we are doing more than anything else right now is we are putting a ton of money and time into growing future leaders. So, and that's either leaders in the discipline specific things that we're asking them to do from a professional services side, or it's more of the soft skills thing as well. Like we have varying levels, if you want to call them that, within our company, right? So we have the executive team, and then we have department heads that run each of their departments. And then within those departments, we have various operations managers that manage smaller teams within there. And then we have like the individuals who are making things happen. So relatively flat structure in the grand scheme of things, but we're a company of almost 300 people. So we need a little bit of this command and control piece. We're going to keep working on that. We do some in-house stuff and some off-site stuff for our executive teams and our department heads. But I'm really proud of, with some of the changes we've recently made, specifically me moving into the president role and taking that on from Kevin. Kevin's now the CEO, and with that, Kevin is focused almost exclusively on strategic growth for us, in the form of maybe some acquisition opportunities that are out there, or new marketplaces that we need to go to, or new services. But he's really focused on organizational structure as well. So organizational structure, both from the leadership and development of future leaders standpoint, as well as this ESOP and the potentially growth of the ESOP and everything else. So by being able to have Kevin focused on that while I'm running the day-to-day and keeping everybody kind of pointing in the same direction, and best in class in every service in every region, and we're reviewing the metrics, like Kevin, and last year we made a decision to move one of our associates into a full-time learning and development role as well. So now she 100% of the time is focused on how do we get our company better? The people that we have within our team, how do we get them better? And how do we let them achieve things that they want to go do as well? And so we have a great tuition reimbursement program. That's one of those benefits that we talk about, that we encourage people to go make yourself better. We want to help you get there because you'll make us better once you get there as well. But Kevin and Dana have spent a lot of time, and they've developed a leadership academy that we host internal for those. Some of them are already risen stars, and some are rising stars, and some are like, we got our eye on some people that we know have the ability to really drive this business in the future years as well. And so we put a class of 40 people through this course. It's a 6-section course that's all homegrown, using some external resources, of course, but 6 different sessions. 40 people went through the first class. We're on class 2 now with another 40 people. So within about a 8-month time period, we will have formally trained 80 of our 300 people in leadership, right? Like that's what this class is about. It's about leadership. So the leadership training, the learning and development piece is a big tool of what we're focused on and what we're trying to get done. And I think there's some blocking and tackling things that we're doing as well. So we need to make it easy for people to understand the KPIs or the metrics, or what really drives the business forward. And so early on, one of the things that we implemented after I joined was we have a single page scorecard now. So this is a one pager. We produce it as we close the books every month. And it gets people talking on a common language. So prior to this, we had 5 different pages. There were a couple different pages per division and the departments, and there were numbers galore all over the place. And I think sometimes that can water things down. So you got to be able to boil it down to what are the numbers that really truly matter within your business. And so now we have that piece as well. And so this has become a common language that we can all talk about all the good things that we're doing. Like, is it producing business results, right? Because we want to do all these things because we're good people and we want to help people like learn and grow and achieve. But at the same time, we need profits in order to be able to keep funding that type of machine as well, and make people's lives better and truly contribute to their family's growth as well. And so having this common language, having this scorecard, as we call it, gives us the ability to kind of have accountability within the business units themselves.
All of this is music to my ears. This is kind of thing that I wish more organizations would be as focused on. The people strategy is business strategy. If you just sort of wing it and you don't have a formal people strategy, you're leaving a lot on the table there in general. So I think that's an important aspect of things. And it sounds great. I'm wondering, what are some of the headwinds? Because, obviously people are people, and you're always going to have, let's call it divergence or devolution, or a scattering of interests or perspectives that we need to systematically deal with. So I'm wondering, what do you see 15 months in as some of the things that you feel like these initiatives need to address effectively?
There's plenty of them within the business, but I think a lot of them are being handled at the appropriate levels. So I talk a lot about leadership, and when I talk about leadership, and I mentioned it in the panel discussion that we did together at the end, but I talk about commander's intent. So it's great to be able to count on leadership at all levels of the organization to make decisions, right? And so that's what we're empowering those folks to do, to make those decisions. So a lot of the day-to-day headwinds that are potentially holding us back, I truly believe they're being handled at the lowest possible levels within the organization, right? Like they're being handled by direct supervisor to employee type of conversations that are happening. And we do have people rallying around the BHAG, as I mentioned, and they're talking the language of the scorecard. And we've broken it down to the metrics that truly matter to allow those small unit leaders to have conversations with their individual associates about either their utilization or the projects that they're working on or where they're spending their time. Those types of things are happening there. I think from a macro standpoint, headwinds that are out there for us. I mean, there's certainly the business climate itself, right? So we're in so many different regions that one of our challenges is we don't have anywhere close to a single competitor, right? Like we have so many different competitors in so many different markets for all the various services that we provide that sometimes, for the way we're organized, I think one of our biggest challenges right now is cross-training of resources. So what we don't want to have happen is we don't want our departments to become siloed. So we don't want the team to throw up walls and say, like, this is what I got to get done. Like, I don't even know what's going on over there, but I'm just going to do my thing. Like that's something that we have to constantly work towards.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding what you're saying there, Andrew. So if you have somebody who is forward-facing in a particular role, let's just say surveying, and they're in a conversation and a need comes up that's not related to that person's responsibilities, but is something that someone else in the organization would address, you want them to immediately be oriented towards, we got that too, that's us too, or that sort of thing?
Give you an example to make it, I guess, probably more clear is like we have certain departments who are killing it, and we have other departments who are struggling right now for a variety of different reasons. Folks are struggling, right? But one of our departments, and I'll leave the specific departments and everything out of it just for sake of it. But sure. So we have a department who doesn't have enough work. Okay. Right? Their business development efforts have not been successful, or if they did have projects on the books, then for whatever reason the project got paused. So they have resources that are ready, willing, and able to go. But they don't have enough work to get going. What we don't want is all the other departments to be like, sucks to be you. It's like, that's your problem. Go figure it out, right? Go find more work. No, we want the tangential departments to be thinking, we got to find them more work. Yeah. I have to help. It's it's our responsibility too. It's not just their responsibility. Yes, I have to get all my work done, but you know what? Next time I pick up the phone and call my client, I'm going to ask them if they need those services too, instead of just the services that we're providing. So we have a lot of new folks. We're growing very rapidly. We have a lot of new folks in our team. Keeping the culture that we have, that's Kevin and I look at it as our primary job is protecting the culture, but onboarding that many people and then getting them into the fold and having them minded the same way, it's a difficult thing sometimes. A lot of it we take care of through the recruiting and the hiring process itself, sure, but then getting them into the fold and keeping that culture. When you have 50 to 60 new people joining you in the course of a year, that's a difficult thing to do. But that's where I think these small unit leaders are like taking over, and like they're the ones carrying the flag each and every day. They're the ones saying like, no, it's not just about what our department's doing. Like, we are one team first. We're one team, right? And when I first joined, like one of the things that that struck me or that I was, I don't know, I look at examples of what I think things look like. And that to me, our organization, like in the first 3 months, I thought like, oh my gosh, we're like a wolf pack, like Rudyard Kipling, The Jungle Book, like we are like the strength of the pack is the wolf and the strength of the wolf is the pack, right? Like we are one team first and foremost. And the individuals each have their own strengths, but we're nothing without the pack itself. That's our true differentiators from a multidisciplinary engineering standpoint. So that would be one of the headwinds, is just making sure that we have this cross training going on. We have people looking outside their lanes, looking left and looking right, and making sure that it's not just, we're not allowing silos to form within the organization. And in a very real way, I think one of the other headwinds that we have going against us is retention of people, right? So we try to create this culture. We try to make it, we're very proud of our record of best places to work awards, and we think it means something. We have a third party survey done, and we got some great feedback on things we're doing great, things we need to work on. Like we have a great place here, but there's a lot of private equity in the world. There's a lot of folks who, like, there's a lot of crazy money being offered to people from competitors in various markets, especially for younger talent, right? So for folks who've been here, that 0 to 3, 0 to 5 year type of a standpoint, like somebody's gonna, throw them $20, $30, $50,000 more to come join them.
Like, a lot of times they say yes.
Yeah, sometimes they say yes, right? So that's a headwind. That's a real thing that we have to deal with as well. I've been proud of the number of people that have come back. Right?
Yeah, sometimes the grass is not greener, and it's not, and dollars are not the only currency that matters, right? So.
Correct, but it's real, especially for younger folks, who are growing families and that those dollars are real and they're meaningful, and I get it. I don't begrudge them for that at all. It's just one of those things that you try to convey the message you just said, right? But sometimes that falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, sometimes those lessons are very difficult to internalize until you live it.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's kind of land the plane by kind of looking future-wise. When we were together on the panel, that was sort of the thing we were looking at, is disruption forces. We talked a bit about the automation, the AI aspect of things. That's a tidal wave, and it's not the only element of things that is happening now, but it's a pretty big one, and how that affects literally every job, it seems. And then the rapidness of the change, and then how do you get your strategy to not go obsolete in a matter of not years, not months, but maybe weeks. So what's your kind of stance, view, approach, to that whole thing, Andrew?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. My own stance might change in not months or years, but in days or hours. No, primarily though, I look at it this way, Tom. I think this is not the first time that there's been a disruptive force in any industry, right? This is not the first time. I think what's been proven over and over again is that business is about people, right? Business is about people. And I'm not just talking about leadership within your team and like those stuff. Like, absolutely, that's true, right? Within the team and the things we've already talked about now. But I just mean the exchange of business from one company to a different company, and the exchange of goods and services. And it's about people. I think AI is fantastic. I really do. I think it's a great tool. I think it has zero emotion. It cannot fundamentally
connect. It stays
that way. Right? It cannot connect with a human being from an emotional, personal standpoint. My challenge to our team is, how are you going to maintain your relationship with your customers when they don't have to pick up the phone and call you? When they can get the answer from a machine instead of from you, why would they want to do business with you? Right? Like, that's my challenge. And we'll see how that plays out. But I'm a believer that it's a disruptive force. Those who figure out how to harness the energy of this thing, stay close to their clients, use the tool for the benefits that it has to accelerate, to put some more velocity. Like my favorite word in business is velocity. I love this concept of velocity in business. I think AI can absolutely provide velocity to business. So we should be able to do more business as a result of AI. But fundamentally, it lacks emotion. Like it cannot connect with a person, right? And I think that's like one of the big things that, I think about what's the world going to look like for my children and what God willing some grandchildren along the way. Like what's the world going to look like? And I've talked on a couple of different panels over the years, and like I just keep thinking about, I forget where I read it originally, but I was reading some article years ago at this stage about some fundamental shifts in humanity that have occurred through the years, and some researchers have been able to pinpoint like inventions that have fundamentally shifted humanity. And one of the earliest ones, and the research went like way back, but the one that I could remember, like our generation, our lifetime type of thing, was the invention of the air conditioner.
Yeah.
So like when the air conditioner was invented, they say that was a fundamental shift in humanity, because prior to that, people's doors were open and their windows were down, and you knew what was going on in your neighborhood, and you had conversations with people. And then when the air conditioner was invented, doors got closed and windows got shut and were rolled up, and like you fundamentally started like blocking yourself off from other human beings, right? And then the cell phone was created, right? And the smartphone was created. And I can distinctly remember my wife and I, pre-kids, North Carolina. When was that? 2002? I guess it was about 2002, 2003 timeframe. Walking down the street, and we'd be like, "Hey, good morning," and people would be like, "Hey, good morning," right? And then, not a couple short years later, it's like you're looking around, everybody's just their heads buried and they're banging away on their phone, and like we're just shutting off the person-to-person contact.
It's funny. My wife and
AI
I
has the ability to do this.
My wife and I walk every day. Well, if it's not horrible weather, we walk every day. We walk in a park, and when you're walking in the park, either people they might have strollers, so they're out there taking a walk with their kid. They might have a dog. There might be a health nut, so they're sort of jogging or running. But a lot of them are just looking at the phone playing Pokemon Go. So that's like a Pokemon Go place where you find the creatures that you're trying to capture, and that's why they're there. It has nothing to do with getting outside and being in the park. It's just they're still on their phone while they're in the park, and it wouldn't matter where they were. It's kind of a funny thing to see.
Yeah, we sound like two old men though. So
I know. Hey, they're out there. What I always say is, hey, they're out here.
At least they're outdoors, right?
Not in mom's basement right now, so that's cool.
I think that I say that all because I think that AI is another one of those like milestone moments in the course of humanity, right? I truly believe that. I'm not trying to sensationalize it. I'm like, doom and gloom, like this is going to ruin everything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it has the ability to fundamentally start shutting off human to human contact with each other as well. And I worry about that. So my part is to not let myself become part of the problem, right? Like get out and figure out why are clients still going to want to do business with us when they don't have to call us for the answer.
Do you have any sort of answers to that question that you help people with?
So for right now, I think that there's a couple things in our industry specific. There's a couple of things to us that are at least a little bit reassuring for the short term, and that is like AI is not going to sign or seal a set of drawings or a set of plans that buildings are going to be built by or land is going to be developed under right now. The professional is still necessary for that. AI is not immediately going to, be inspecting buildings or making sure that what was built is, built towards code.
Yeah, it's not trustworthy.
Yeah,
it's not
it can get there.
Yeah,
It absolutely can get there. But I think that the professional side, the professional services side of what we do still has to be done by a person. It might be a person making use of the tool, making use of AI to put velocity in their business, for sure.
Yeah, do something in 10 minutes that used to take 2 hours.
Right. I mean, I've heard people say that, AI is not coming for your job or it's not going to replace your job, but people who fail to know how to use AI are going to lose their job to people who have learned to use AI. And then I can probably see that, right? There's going to be a better, faster, smarter way to do things as well. But I truly believe that in the end, the human to human connection is what's going to matter most. So like developing relationships with people, treating them like people, picking up the phone when they call, returning their phone call. Like it's the basics to me. It's the basics of being in business that if you can do those really well, that I think AI is not going to replace that. I really don't think that that'll happen. And the other thing I'll say too is that I had the great privilege of judging a high school ethics bowl competition.
Yeah.
About 2 months ago. At DeSales University. It was fantastic. They do a great job. This is my second year judging judging the ethics bowl. And I'll tell you what, this generation coming out of high school, like the case study this year was about the use of AI in the college admissions process.
Okay.
And man, like it was eye-opening how many of these Gen Zers or borderline Gen Alphas like are anti-AI.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was eye-opening to me how many of them are just like, no, they don't like AI. It was wild.
Huh. Wow. That's kind of an interesting thing. Did you get a sense as to what they were reacting against? Was it just the coldness or because you can kind of tell when something's written by AI. So are they reacting to that or what?
I don't know. No, I mean, to answer your question, no, I didn't really get the sense. I didn't dig into it a ton in the time that we had with them. It's something that we should, folks like you and I, we should spend more time figuring that out because that's our future workforce as well. Those are our future leaders. Those are our future, CEOs that are going to be coming up in 20 years type of thing. Absolutely. And, we should spend some more time figuring that out. I think from the case study standpoint, it was a lot more about the ability of the computer to kind of dig in and get all the dirt on you type of thing. Like they could search all your online profiles. They could know every one of the internet searches you've all ever done. And this would allow the college admissions person to know whether or not you were a good fit for their school. And it would help rapidly, parse through the people that were no good and get to the people who were good. And the students were like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I want you to know all that stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. Wow. Well, that is a pretty good little survey that we just did of the past, present, and future from your perspective as in your role at Barry Isett and Associates. Is there any other kind of thought that's kind of swerving around in there, Andrew, that you're thinking of that you want to kind of share before we wrap up? It feels like we got a nice complete story there.
Yeah, the only other thing that I was fascinated when I heard you use the term agency.
Yeah,
Tom. Like I at first I was like, what does he mean by agency? Like, I don't know what that means. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mean your personal power. Like
that's exactly what I mean.
It's the power that we wield as individuals. And so my final or parting thoughts would be that that's entirely up to us.
Sure.
Right. Like, so are there external forces that are going to act upon that? Sure there are. Right.
If there wasn't, nothing we would do would have any meaning.
Yeah. So I think like understanding who you are, understanding why you do what you do, being in an environment that makes you feel fulfilled and like that lifts you up. Like it's not being in that environment is not going to prevent the bad stuff from coming into your life each and every day, but I think it's going to allow you to see that proverbial forest through the trees and understand we got to move forward. Your journey's unfolding exactly as it should be, right? Like there's a reason that this is happening. And, I'm reminded now just talking about it too, like, we had a little magnet hanging on our refrigerator for many, many years. I got to see if it's still there. I don't know, but it said, courage does not always rule. Sometimes it's the quiet voice in your head at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, I think to me, that's That's your agency. It's entirely up to you about how you want to paint whatever that's happening to you right now. You can paint it in a negative way, you can paint it in a positive way, you can learn and move forward. You can get stuck in what I refer to as the swirl, all right, which is like the worst place in the world for people to operate in. And by the swirl, I mean you're honestly paralyzed by whatever's happening to you. You don't know if you should move north, south, east, west, and you just constantly spin in this circle, but you're not moving anywhere. You're just stuck right where you are. If you're in the swirl, like, you got to recognize it. You got to understand that, like, no matter what you do, it's going to be the right decision right now. Like, move forward. You'll either learn or you'll succeed, and then you'll figure out a different way next time if you fail. But like, I getting stuck in that swirl is a very dangerous thing. And so I highly encourage people to understand that, it's up to you how you respond to those things when they're happening in your life.
I'm laughing because we have an updated Aya Power model, and this layer that's got the light color there, that's called the loops layer. So we could have called it the swirl if we wanted to steal from you. But you're talking about the exact same thing, the forces or the patterns that keep us from exerting our agency, making the positive change that we'd like to make. So we identify those and we work to break those patterns and move people forward. So it's funny that you recognize that, and hey, wisdom's wisdom. It was just, you call it swirl, you call it loops, you call it whatever you want to, but
I like it, the loops. Yeah. I've always called it the swirl. Yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. That's great wisdom. Andrew, I know we could keep going. We could just keep going and going on this stuff, and I sure would love to, but we're into this for an hour, so that's about our length of time. So, hey, I want to thank you very much for your time today. You did not disappoint. You gave us a ton of wisdom, and very much appreciate it, and love to continue talking to you as time goes on. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Andrew, thanks again for being my guest today. Loved every second of it. I'm just going to, for the purposes I tend to do this when people drop a lot of knowledge bombs, I want to sort of give the key takeaways here. So you were right on the center of the bullseye, I think, when you were talking specifically about it's never been about me. It's about how the best I can do with the talents bestowed by God to me in the service of others. And I might not have had it exactly how you said it, but that's the basic idea. And I think that's such a great description of how we really get to that place of feeling the mentor machine, and with the Aya Power, we call that Alvea, which is the special kind of fulfillment that comes from mastery. In other words, getting good at something. Contributing, meaning putting those gifts that you have, honing them, putting to work to contribute to a shared mission in a way that has visibility so that you get feedback and feel seen, appreciated, valued, accepted, and you feel that sense of what you do matters. And we call that combination of things, we call that Alvea. And organizations are really the places where we have the opportunity for that. And so to talk with a leader who is all about that is, to me, very exciting and gratifying, because I believe that that's the place that we all really belong. That's the sort of the place that we should be striving to get. And I think everybody is given gifts, one gift or another, one combination or another, something that's uniquely them. And when they're able to authentically identify those and live into those and then be seen doing so, that to me is really the answer to the central question. We talked a little bit about the fact that Barry Isett and Associates is an ESOP, and that means employee owned. So it's now, helps us turn the me into we. And we talked a little bit about the cultural dynamics that are aided by that factor. We talked about the Marine Corps and his experiences at Lutron, and kind of glossed through those things, but every single one of those, I'm sure we could spend a time just diving into the lessons that you get from each one of those. He talked about the Jim Collins idea of the BHAG, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, something that gives, a stretch something that feels like we have a chance to achieve and feel like we're doing something that wasn't just going to happen anyway. And you kind of need that if you're going to feel some sort of level of fulfillment, because you need to stretch yourself, grow, accomplish something that wasn't a gimme. It's thinking about a sports analogy, making the layup is not as much of a ooh-ah kind of a moment as sinking that, Stephen Curry 40-foot three-pointer. You do that in a regular basis, and your value is almost incalculable. So those things really matter. Talked about the flywheel, and what I heard in that is really alignment. And we talk a lot about alignment. We have an alignment diagnostic tool that we use. So alignment is key. And as a matter of fact, axionomy is the science of alignment. So we're big on that here at Mentor Machine and I at Power. So he mentioned no team can outgrow its leadership, and boy, is that true. He's very invested in growing future leaders, and they talked about the kinds of things they do. He shared something else along those lines. He's simplified to a single-page scorecard, something that's digestible. That's something that we've been striving to do. You can sort of see here the Eye of Power. It's not that much different from my previous ones that you've seen in terms of the look of it. The diagram's the same, but it actually is a little bit simpler and a little bit easier, more easily understood. We understand that people need to be able to grasp and internalize concepts in order to act on them. We rely, of course, on action, and rather than telling people about the intellectual aspect of it, we focus on what they're doing that week as a result of a prompt. That's how we kind of apply that knowledge at Mentor Machine. Talked a little bit about the headwinds. They have a kind of a unique, the diversity and the different markets they're in for Barry Isett and Associates makes it perhaps a little difficult to get a handle on the competitive landscape, because they're up against maybe niche operators in this area that doesn't necessarily operate in another area. So that really complicates the competitive landscape. That's one of the headwinds that they need to navigate. Then, growth means a constant influx of new people. So maintaining the core cultural precepts and behaviors while you're continually refreshing new people is a challenge, because those people have to be brought in through the people strategy, attraction, selection, retention, development function. And it has to be successful in order to maintain, number one, and then grow and have your culture continue to thrive so that people are flourishing. He used the term one wolf pack as a way, and he used rallying cries to be able to get people to go from the me to the we. And of course, that's a success. Those are happy problems. We're growing so much, we need more people. That's a happy problem. Another happy problem is, boy, our people are amazing, and that means other people want them, so they're willing to throw lots of money at them to take them, and of course, some of them are going to say yes to that. So that's constantly, how do you defend against, competitive sort of sniping of your talent? And of course, that's another. We kind of talked a little bit about it, that's why culture is so important, that people feel like they belong there. If they leave, they're not leaving a job, they're leaving, they're very connected, they're very connected to the people there. And so they don't have just a job, they have a life. And so that's one way that, having a thriving, flourishing, healthy culture can help, retain our best talent. And some people have to just learn that. They go and Andrew said, they'll leave and then they say, oh, you know what? Yeah, they're paying me a little bit more, but I was happier back at Barry Isett, so they come back. So sometimes the grass isn't greener, but you can't tell people that. They have to learn that themselves, of course. And then finally, Andrew asked a very, I think, poignant question that really everybody needs to wrestle with, and that is, how do you maintain the relationship with customers when they don't need you? In other words, they can go find an answer on their phone, and they might perceive it as to be as good, if not better, than what you could tell them. So how do you maintain that relationship? So those were the major kind of brushstrokes that Andrew gave us today. Again, very thankful. And thank you to you for listening to us at the iPower podcast. Appreciate it. This has been the Eye of Power podcast with Tom Dardick. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd also like to thank my brother, Scott Dardick, for the music and his music production. If you'd like to reach me, simply email Tom at dardickcommunications.com